The big challenges, I think, for us all as professional curators is how do we map what's going on? The world is now, the art world is now for the first time truly global. Again, a recent phenomenon. How can we possibly map what's going on? So at the Whitechapel Gallery, we decided to trust local knowledge. And we have a consortium of partners, all of whom have black box spaces around the world. And we invited local curators to nominate one moving image artist, and everybody in the consortium shows that work. We have a partner in Vietnam, in New Zealand, in Norway, in Italy, in Argentina, in Lebanon, in Israel, and in Hong Kong. So when we showed the work of Laura and Calzadilla or Leandro Erlich, who comes up next, that work was then seen globally. The great thing about moving image work is you can send it down the internet. It costs nothing to ship it, and we were able to find these extraordinary bodies of work and present them in our auditorium as part of this Artist Film International programme, which we are running to this day. We closed the Whitechapel Gallery for 2 years to expand, and during that time we were, like Lydia and her colleagues, working outside, and we invited Minerva Cuevas from Mexico to come and work with us. And she decided to bring a little more joy to the Whitechapel area and establish an ice cream shop. But all the ice creams were monochrome, they were all white, different shades of white. And it was a tribute really to, I think, to Malevich, but also she was going back to the idea of community, and she developed her own currency, and this is one of the coins that we use. All the street traders in Petticoat Lane agreed to accept her coins for their products, and you could to give change in her coins for anything that you bought from them, and then you could use the coins to buy ice cream from her ice cream parlour. So this project was in some ways kind of a synthesis of what we've learned from Latin American artists. It was about celebrating the everyday. It was about physical, sensual pleasure. It was about community. It was about concept, participation, sculpture in an expanded field, the equality of gender, and the kind of involvement of audience as participant and spectator. So that's my last image. Our next project opens in 3 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time. Please come and join us for the Spirit of Utopia, where the great Mexican artist Pedro Reyes will be installing a sanatorium where he will be inviting you to take part in sessions of so-called societry. So that opens to the public on the 3rd of July, and we look forward to welcoming you then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iwona. Well, I think we are running slightly over time, but I'm sure we still have time for a couple of questions from the audience if anyone would like to raise a point or an issue that we haven't addressed. Anyone? Maybe I had a question for you. It's a slightly cheeky question, considering where you are, of course, but do you think it's relevant to have an art fair that specializes in a region, to have a sort of a specialist approach to Latin America, or should it be perhaps a bit more global? We are starting to embrace Hispanic countries, Spain and Portugal, and perhaps bring a slightly bigger sort of scope to this. But do you think maybe, since you're still holding the microphone, it will fall on you, on your shoulders?
I mean, it's a big question, and it always emerges, for example, around work made by women, but work from different parts of the country. You know, there is a fear that there is a ghetto effect. From my point of view, it's a fantastic opportunity to get access to actual works of art. Simple as that, not reproductions, you know, not something that we could see and touch and experience spatially. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's a wonderful way to learn about what's happening and to get access to the contemporary scene. So from my point of view, professionally, yes, it's really exciting.
To have a specialist approach. Polly, surely you have a view on this.
Well, I would second that it's very exciting to see the works of art. This is the first time I've been to Pinter's, so and actually I haven't had a chance to look round properly yet. So I will reserve judgment at this moment. I look forward to seeing the work.
Yes, perfect. Maybe, yes.
Well, I think one of the interesting things has sort of been the evolution of how Latin American art has been presented from the 80s and earlier even to the present. A lot of the big survey shows that happen in the 80s, you don't see those kinds of shows that are a roundup of either a region or all of Latin America or the Caribbean or some aspect of Latin America. It's become much more focused, and I think artists are getting more individual exhibitions, and that's been great. The fair is interesting. In some ways, it's the commercial context that brings all the Latin American artists together. You don't see this as much in a museum show, although on occasion sometimes there's a show, but there tend to be more kind of a national focus now than a broad transnational focus.
And you, Adrian, specialist or not? No, I don't know if maybe me. Specialist or not specialist approach? The last word?
Well, I think it's really important. I think it gives exposure to a lot of artists and a lot of galleries who are promoting artists from the region. But I also think that it's, the region itself is producing incredibly interesting artists that are tackling some of the great issues that are confronting us globally today, whether it's social poverty or development, city development, ecological crises, these kind of issues that artists, and indigenous issues in particular as well, that perhaps don't get so much exposure outside of a forum like this, and perhaps they need to get more exposure, but this is a very good starting point, I think.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for, first of all, attending, for your support, and thank you very much for the audience and for your patience with our technology. So thanks a lot.